Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerds Industry Impact has been playing paintball since 1986. He went pro in 1992 with New England Express. He played with Enemy. In 1992, he formed the world famous Boston Paintball. In 2003, he started the Paintball Combine. He's been involved in BKI since 2017. In 2019, he took over Team USA. He's responsible for the twister milling style on many popular guns. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Anthony Vitale.
How you doing? Thanks for having me. Been definitely a fan as you've been having more and more of these interviews. So good job. Always appreciative of people doing a good job. Surround myself with good people is kind of where we've been the last 30 years here. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Anthony. Man, you've made a tremendous impact on paintball since you started in '86 when I was 2 years old.
Yeah, I've been doing it a bit. Again, surrounding myself with really good people. I've had Laurie Miller with us for a while, my partner Matteo Gallo, and T2's been with us since he was a little kid. So yeah, surrounding yourself with good people, as you know, is how you get through this thing and have some fun while you're doing it.
Hell yeah, man. I don't think that the mass majority knows how many things that you have your fingers in. Like what I just mentioned there is a tiny percentage. You know, you're involved in a lot. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about your history, a little bit more about Anthony Vitale's history in paintball.
It's just one of those people that got hooked on paintball. I saw a Splatmaster gun in a Bass Pro magazine. I was big into fishing back in my early high school years. So I was going through the magazine. I saw this little green gun that you could shoot at people. And I was like, oh, I got to get one of these. So I got one, then I got two, then I got four. And then, all my friends and I were playing. And then when I went to college, I went to BU and started a paintball club. So got more and more people involved. And once we got the club going, I needed to supply the club. So I started a little paintball company to do that. And from there, we went on to Boston Paintball, met my partner and all the people that have been with me for a long time that have helped us grow paintball here in New England. So again, very fortunate, very happy to be in paintball this long and to see it grow and to see it come from something that was in the woods. We brought it to malls. We brought it to, mainstream media. We've had it on Nesson Sports, which is where the Bruins and the Red Sox are on that television station. So we've had paintball in our New England paintball tournaments on TV and cable TV. So that was our goal, was always to put paintball in the faces of the masses as well as grow the paintball pie, knowing that if we were doing it the best, that we would have the higher percentage of that pie. So it was self-serving a little bit, but also it helped the greater good and get paintball out there in front of everyone.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, we do it because we love it. We do it because of the memories, right, that paintball gives us. So, you've got a lot of them. You've got a lot of them, Anthony. Share with us a memory that really sticks out for you over the past 30 something years.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of them. I remember I think it was like 1990, the first paintball tournament that I ever won. Was playing with that club team from Boston University. We were up at what was called Adventure Games, is now AG Paintball. It's owned by a friend of mine now. Yeah, Eric. We work with. Yeah, we work with them real closely now. They host a couple of our New England Paintball League events. But I always tell them that, one of the first tournaments that I ever ran, I ran at his field. That field hosted the first tournament I ever held, as well as the first tournament I ever won. So some of the real good memories have been up at that establishment that is even older than our establishment at Boston Paintball. So they've been there probably 35, 40 years. So they were one of the really early ones that latched on to the sport and has done a really good job evolving and keeping people playing up in that New Hampshire area.
You remember what kind of gun you were using at that tournament?
I do. We'd completely overpowered people with auto mags while they were using pump guns. It wasn't anything to do with skill. It was just an arms race back then where, we had auto mags that were modified to have tanks vertically so liquid didn't get into the gun. So, yeah, and they were still using either Tipman 68 specials or pump guns. And so, yeah, it was a good victory, but looking back on it, it probably was unfair.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably shooting 7, 8 balls a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are stuck at 4 or 5,
right?
With a pump gun, less. And that's funny, man.
Well,
What kind of goggles were you using?
Scott's, I think. Yeah, we were Scott.
Scott's.
We were Scott sponsored team for a long time. They were really good to us. I think Marty. No, was it Marty? I can't remember, but he was
Bush?
really close. Well, Marty Bush was on the Ironman, but there was Marty Tripes, maybe. Someone hopefully will comment, and there was the Scott manufacturer at the time was really good to us. It was Tim Slosh was the Tiger Stripe, and this fellow Marty was kind of in charge of the sponsorship for Scott back in the day. And he was always really good to us. So we were a Scott team. And but yeah, I remember also the strategies were different then. I started my first tournament I ever played in was 15 man. So it was a huge field. Wow. And you would spread like across like a skirmish line. And we started to change that and be like, all right, two or three of you are going to hold this one side and we're just going to blast through with 10 of us. So we kind of, when we won our first tournament, it was a 5-player tournament. And we kind of did the same thing. It was like one person's going to hold the left side and one's going to hold the middle. And the 3 of us are just going to break this side open. And you're overpowering them with just firepower at the time. Because again, we had semi-auto guns that actually worked versus pump guns and semis that weren't as reliable. So
yeah,
between those two things is, why we won our first tournament.
That's awesome. I can, when you're talking about it, I can like kind of picture the sounds, because I remember automags. I've been in it for a little bit, but I can picture the sounds, and I can picture everything running around in the woods.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's some of the best parts of paintball is those war stories.
Yep, exactly.
So Anthony, you
floating around of my business partner. He was wearing like a tank top, and everybody used to call him Rambo because he's a short guy like me. Actually, I'm actually taller than somebody. And they used to call us the mini guineas. And he had long, like Rambo style hair and muscles. So he would play.
And a tank top.
Yeah. So it was pretty crazy.
Did he hold his gun down here like this?
He probably would. He didn't shoot that often. He was like sneaky. He didn't like to shoot as much unless he knew he was going to hit you.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, Anthony, man, you've been working on a lot of projects in paintball. I listed a few of them. Anything new and exciting that you're working on coming up?
Yeah, we always trying to improve, whether it be just at our field, at our league. We added a new webcast last year to our league that was really successful and something that I think the player base really liked. So we're going to continue to do that. We're adding some more cameras. The Heroines and Laurie and I were very pivotal with the WNXL, and working with Bob at Comp Paintball helped us to do our own webcast at our league, the New England Paintball League, but also working with Bob and trying to create a better product for the NXL lives that you guys have been seeing at the Premier Field. We expect that the Premier Field and the NXL lives are just going to get better and better this year. So that's something that we've been working on. As a league, the WNXL is looking to expand. Hopefully you'll see some announcements next week of the expansion of the WNXL. Also,
what does that mean?
It's not official. I can't say officially, but yeah, we're going to hopefully be adding some franchises for 2023. So we're excited for that. So yeah, some teams are going to be added to the WNXL. I won't say which ones are going to be added, but there was a process to it. As far as your team being a stable franchise, having something that not only a good player base, but a good organization, As
Right.
business partners for the WNXL, we need somebody that we can work with that can really grow the sport and bring these female athletes into the light. So there's a lot more to it than just potentially winning on the field. Obviously,
Of
I
course.
think the WNXL has showed that the product of the female athletes that have been playing has got better and better and better after every event. And we want to continue to do that. So while that's one factor, having a good, solid organization that is going to geographically also going after areas that we don't already have penetration in. So
That's incredible, because I can certainly see, just in my own life, my wife taking interest in paintball because there's something called the WNXL. And prior is just my thing that I did. I went and did paintball stuff.
mhm.
So I mean, how do you think adding more quality female teams is going to impact the industry as a whole?
Well, we've seen the data's there. Having spoken to Chris Rail, he does a really good job of keeping the data. Even at Boston Paintball on a local level, we try to keep track of as many things as you can for data-driven marketing or whatever. And female play is on the rise. So there's no question about that. It's just how much of an impact can it make on the industry. And from a competitive standpoint, like on the NXL, they're up like 90%. So that's a big number. You almost doubled
Yeah.
the amount of unique female players playing competitively. And then when you look at player days, how many times these female athletes have been playing, it has tripled. So
Hmm.
they've gone from playing, say, 500 times a year collectively to 1,500 times a year. So now not only are more women playing, but they're playing more often and they're taking it seriously and they're competing at a higher level. And I think that that trajectory is just going to lead to growth in a demographic that obviously we're lacking. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I am as well. Actually, I was surprised when I reached out to the Heroines, and you ended up being behind it. You answered, and I didn't know that you had your hand in it. How did you become part of the Heroines?
Tom reached out to a small group of us at the beginning, obviously with Laurie and I having Team USA paintball and the combine and having the process of choosing the 2019 women's team, along with B. Paxson being involved and like we just talked a little bit off air of how I even got Team USA. She wanted a team to be chosen for that 2019 team. So we started having a lot of familiarity with the female players that are already out there. And then Tom called and said, "Hey, what do you think the viability of having a women's professional league is?" And I said,
Hmm.
"I think it's very, very viable as long as it's done correctly." Um, so we moved forward. He made some calls. I made some calls. We got a group together in Chicago. I think 2 years ago, Chicago. We all met after the Chicago event, and it was an open forum. It was webcasted so people could ask questions, and that's when it was formed. We just started small with 6 organizations, and last year was a come to fruition type of thing. And I think that from event 1 to event 3, you saw a lot of growth and good competition and a lot of comments to me anyway. I don't know what you've heard, were that they were pleasantly surprised. I didn't know that the girls could play at that type of level. And when they see some of the female athletes playing on male counterpart teams, I know a couple of our, Rosie played on a D2 team with East Coast Effect as well. Jen Folk plays on a D3 team, Underground, as well as playing with the Heroines. Michaela Wilkins plays on a D2 Arsenal team. Tata Blanco plays for the Shenanigans as well as her sister Nana. They play on a D3 Shenanigans team. I believe that Shenanigans are even looking to play D2 this year. So you have some females out there that are playing at a high level, both on
Hmm.
the female side and on the co-ed side. So it's nice to see. And I want all of those girls to be playing in the WNXL. It's like, you want to play the Major League Baseball league? Is it Major League Baseball if the Yankees aren't playing? I'm a Red Sox fan, obviously, but if the Yankees aren't playing, it's not Major League Baseball. And so when some of these female players like a Katie Kelly that only played one event as a WNXL player. I was,
Right.
you know, I messaged her to say, I just want you to play. I don't want you to play with me. I just want you to play. And same thing with Taylor Hofer up in Connecticut. She was one of our Team USA 2019 players that was critical in a role of playing for us. And she's not playing in the WNXL. So I'm always out there. Laura's always out there, and we're prodding to try and have the best female players playing in the league.
Yeah. Well, you know, getting females into the sport is one of paintball's challenges, and it's certainly one that you're taking on and overcoming. Now, let's say that we solve that, right? We solve that challenge. What are some of paintball's other biggest challenges?
I mean, we're always, when everybody back in even the 90s, and we'd have competitors, other paintball fields, and we'd sit down and we'd do a pretty good job in New England of especially now in the last decade or so, of working together. But prior to that, even if we had some squabbles, over time, I'm not saying that we knew everything, but we always knew that we weren't really competing with other paintball fields. We're competing with other activities. So
Yes.
Once you realize that you're not competing with each other, and you start working together to, use your marketing dollars to just put the sport in front of people, if we can get them to play once, you know how it is. You got hooked and then you played. It's the same thing. We just need to get it in front of as many people as possible. When they actually do come to one of our paintball facilities, we need to give them a great experience. And that might be, making sure that your employees are doing a good job, making sure the equipment you have is adequate, or above adequate. We try to make sure that the equipment they're using, if they're not shooting good paint, they're not shooting good equipment. If your fields are a mess, if your referees are not organized and they're not running games efficiently, then all of these things, you don't have real bathrooms, whatever it might be. They're used to these things at their other activities. When you go to a jumpy house or
Correct.
something else, they're not worried about whether or not you have real bathrooms. So
Correct. Yeah.
These are the things that our industry has slowly over time evolved into, knowing that these are the things we need to do to be successful. And I've seen it that people always say, well, there's so much less paintball fields than there used to be back in the day. And it's true, but some of those, unfortunately, didn't deserve to survive. And other ones that were actually good, their land is getting taken from them because land gets more and more valuable, unfortunately. And we talk as a group too, is that if you have the ability to tie up your land, tie up your land, either buying it, 20-year lease, as scary as it might be, that's what you need to do as a field owner these days.
Yeah. Well, I think that for the most part, paintball industry, owners, they are first paintball enthusiasts before business people. And I think that the industry has felt the effects of that, right? And that's why we've seen a lot of we've seen a lot of attrition, is because, like, these people aren't necessarily business owners. They're just paintball enthusiasts that are figuring it out as they go. And I think slowly but surely paintball is getting more business minded. And like you said, it's going to get we're going to get more of the amenities that other forms of entertainment have. When you go play mini golf, you're not worrying about the bathroom, right? Mm-hmm. But I think there's a lot of things that paintball fields can do, and you're doing a lot of them. Another thing that you mentioned is the competition. I think fields, stores, everyone should support each other a lot more. I think there is a lot of toxic competition in paintball, and it's kind of like, if you're sitting in a kiddie pool and you try and pee someone, you're going to end up smelling like pee. Mm-hmm. Right. So I don't know what the solution is. I don't know. How do we unite?
Yeah, I think regionally, Rusty Glaze is great at talking to and bouncing ideas off of. So he and I, we actually were at one point, we just both got so busy. We were going to do like a BKI business portion where we would talk to other fields about, you know, what we find works for us. And Rusty's father-in-law is in car dealerships, and car dealerships a lot will form these little groups of 5, and they're all from different parts of the country, so they don't really compete with each other, and they meet, you know, quarterly or, you know, probably via Zoom now, and they just bounce ideas off of each other. And I think it's a great idea, whether it be through a core event or a paintball extravaganza. Those are probably the only valuable tools left that these industry things have to offer. Some of the classes that they're offering are not really as beneficial, I guess, as they could be. They're a little bit repetitive, but you can learn a lot from your peers. You can learn a lot from your mistakes. So I would, if anybody was asking me, we just keep trying. We keep trying different things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. If they do work, then you double down on them. And the worst thing you could do is just be stagnant, because you can never really stand still. You're either going backwards or you're going forwards. And if you're not trying, then more than likely you're going backwards. So these are some of the things that people think, oh, I'm going to coast. Well, you can't coast for long. And you can't like rest on your laurels too long. And that's one of the things that luckily we've been able to do, is that we've been trying things. They don't always work, for sure. That's not how it is. But you just want to give a value to your customer. And we're certainly not the cheapest. We'll probably never be the cheapest, but you just try to give you the best value that you can for your customer and give the best experience. And overall, I think that's how you grow paintball, is that if paintball customers, players, they come out and they have a good time, they're going to continue to play. And that's what we as field owners need to do. And as players, we need to be just good advocates and ambassadors. So
yeah, I believe that if field owners had access to someone like you, a peer, that is doing well, that could help the industry as a whole. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, I don't think there's a formal paintball industry mastermind where the leaders of industry get together and actually talk about all the problems that there are in the industry and how to solve them.
You got a little bit now with Facebook forums. There are a couple good field forums on Facebook and other social media platforms that people are some good field owners are active on, and it's nice to see. You know, Jed from Dallas, from Cousins, he does a good job. He's very active on there, and he tries to give his experiences, good or bad, about certain things. And there's other people. Mike from P&L Paintball is very active on that forum as well. I chirp in every once in a while, but I usually talk through Mike. But those are some tools that you could definitely use as a field owner, or as even a store. There's different ones for stores. Junior over at Extreme Paintball and Sac Paintball does a great job. Him and Gina, they're active on that site, and they really try to help people that are store-based work through. They have a field as well, but they're more active, I think, on the store part of that forum. But there are some tools, but there probably could be a better network of field owners working together in some other way. But it's something. It's something.
Yeah, the resource is there. You just you have to be intentional about finding it.
Yep, absolutely. But that's kind of the point that we just made, is that if you're trying, you'll find that forum, or you'll find an answer. I knew that Dustin, he just opened a really nice field in the St. Louis area, and he was doing all of his research, calling all big fields, and even flying out to these fields before he even opened his doors. And that's smart. You know, you try to go around, and I do the same thing. If I'm out in LA, I'm running the Combine, say in February 4th and 5th out at Ambush, I'm going to go and walk around Glens Park, and I'm going to see if there's anything that he's doing that I could be doing better. And if you're not looking around and trying to figure it out, then again, you're probably going backwards.
Yeah. If you're not evolving, you're dying, as they say.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, Anthony,
touch on that one thing is that we do still have a few more spots out there for that combine. I think we're at about 60 players. We typically stop around 72. So Ambush Paintball, February 4th and 5th. We do have the Paintball Combine. Anybody that's interested can go to paintballcombine.com.
Okay,
so that's
cool.
my one plug of your interview.
Well, hey man, you can plug a lot more than that if you like. But before you do, I always like to close with what is it, Anthony, that you're most thankful for that paintball's given you?
It's easy. That's an easy one for me. Is all the friendships and relationships that I've had throughout the years. Some of them are 30-year relationships. Whether I don't look at my my vendors as anything but friends at this point. I've known them for so long. I knew them when they, when Billy was a salesperson, and now he's the president of CORE. I've known Billy since 1992. So, John Rathman, same thing. When anybody was changing salespeople, I'd be like, I want Rathman, and now he's the vice president of sales. And all of those things, those are great relationships that I go on vacations with those guys, and it's great. I don't look at my employees as employees. They've been with me forever. They're family. So it's really great. My oldest son, has been able to work for me and work with me, and now runs one of our locations. Almost every one of my kids has worked at Boston Paintball at one point. So again, all these relationships that I've built through the combine, through all the players that we met, the BKI summer camps, all the young kids that you see. I'm Austin Beatty. I'll pull as an example is, he came through a BKI program, the summer camp. He went, tried out for AC Diesel a couple of years ago, made the team, and I was his second call. He called me after he called his parents and said he made the team, and he called and said, thank you. I made the team. So stuff like that is huge. And that's very rewarding. So those are the things that I really like the most about what I'm able to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Well, Anthony, I certainly appreciate you, man. You've done a lot for the sport. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time. No problem. Is there anything that you want to part with for the paintball community?
No, just if you're watching this and you're not playing paintball, then please go out there and try it. Ask friends to go out and play. You'll see some of the things. We have a documentary coming out for the Heroines that's going to be pretty cool. It's going to drop February 12th. It's going to be a 2-part documentary focusing mostly on the Heroines, but female play in general. But it's just new players. If you're out there, be an ambassador for paintball. If you're watching this, you probably spend a lot of time watching paintball, playing paintball. Then that means that you need to be out there and be a really good ambassador for the sport. And those things lean heavy. The last thing I want to say is, unfortunately, a couple of days ago, yesterday, I found out that a good friend of mine, Dale Costa, had passed away. Known him for about 30 years. And he is and was a great ambassador for paintball. His enthusiasm, his passion for the sport was infectious. So that's kind of how you want to be. If you want paintball to grow and you want your sport to be more mainstream, then please be a great advocate for the sport. And anytime you see somebody new, be very, very kind to them, be open.
Yes.
And that's the kind of way that you can grow paintball. Put your actions behind your words. Don't just say grow paintball, actually do it.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.